Likely to come up in President Obama's chat with the Saudi king is the civil war on that country's doorstep in Yemen. It is one of the least covered conflicts in the world right now. But know this, American weapons or American-designed weapons are reportedly being used to kill civilians there in Yemen. A year ago last month, Yemen, a country of 25 million, went to war with itself and with al-Qaeda. Iran is supporting Houthi rebels. The Saudis are supporting the Yemeni government, and the U.S. is supporting the Saudis. If this all sounds complicated, that's because it is. But what is somber and straightforward is that this war has killed thousands of civilians so far and driven millions from their homes. Let's talk about it now with Sanjeev Berry from Amnesty International, which claims they have evidence that U.S. or U.S.-designed munitions were used to kill innocent Yemenis. Sanjeev, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
What is this evidence?
Well, Amnesty International researchers have been on the ground in Yemen, in areas where the Saudi Arabia-led military coalition was engaged in indiscriminate bombardment. Not only have countless Yemeni civilians had their lives brought to horrific ends as a result of this bombardment, but Amnesty International has found in the rubble remnants of U.S.-designed or potentially U.S.-manufactured bombs, like the MK series of bombs that had been dropped by the Saudi-led coalition.
And the U.S. Government or U.S. corporations have culpability for that, you think?
Well, certainly potentially both. The U.S. government has sold to Saudi Arabia some $30 billion worth of arms in the last few years. Even as the latest bombardment was happening, the U.S. government under President Obama authorized another $1 billion+ worth of bomb sales to the Saudi Arabian government.
And has there been any evidence that the Obama administration has exerted any pressure to try to encourage the Saudis to exercise restraint in their bombing campaign?
Now, the President Obama and the Obama administration have claimed that they are urging the Saudi government to exercise restraint, but at the end of the day, if you have a government engaging in mass indiscriminate bombardment of civilians, declaring an entire city, for example, a military target, totally in violation of international law, and you hand that government $1 billion more in bombs, what's the ultimate signal? It's a terrible signal when it comes to human rights.
Now, about a year and a half ago, before the Civil War broke out, Amnesty International and other human rights groups were far more focused on the drone campaign in targeting al-Qaeda in Yemen. Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, AQAP, is obviously the group behind, I think, the Paris attacks. How much stronger are they today or weaker today a year into this conflict?
Well, the indiscriminate bombardment by the Saudi Arabia-led military coalition and the continued supply of arms by the U.S. and the U.K. is not only a humanitarian and human rights disaster, it's also dramatically expanded the operational space for al-Qaeda in parts of Yemen.
So they're stronger now?
They're much stronger now, and there are news reports emerging that suggest that they are taking in millions of dollars a day in oil revenues, as well as, quite frankly, bank robberies in the region.
Let's talk about Saudi Arabia writ larger. It's obviously a problematic ally for the United States in a lot of ways. Not even looking at what's going on in Yemen right now, but Saudi Arabia's own human rights record. Tell us about that.
Right. So Saudi Arabia should not be an ally of the United States militarily, not just because of its rampant destruction in Yemen through the bombardment, but also because inside the country, armed Saudi Arabian internal security forces arrest countless people who simply engage in peaceful criticism of the government. Some of them are advocates for human rights. Some want a constitutional monarchy. Others are simply saying that they don't want the kinds of restrictions placed on them that this brutal monarchy places, and they're getting multiple multi-year sentences in jail as a result.
All right, Sanjeev Berry, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, and thanks for the work that you do.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.